Shall I'm going to start because we have to finish by 2:30. Is everything okay? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الكيس من دان نفسه وعمل لما بعد الموت والعاجز من أتبع نفسه هواها وتمنى على الله. وعن ابن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال إذا أمسيت فلا تنتظر الصباح وإذا أصبحت فلا تنتظر المساء وخذ من صحتك لمرضك ومن حياتك لموتك. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير خلقه محمد وآله وأصحابه وأهل بيته وعترته وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. Respected brothers and sisters and dear children, this life which Allah Ta'ala has given us, we have to live this life. There is no other option. We have to go through this life. That is why it's important for us to understand the realities and the haqiqat of this life, so that we can sail through this life in the most successful manner and acquire the objective of this life and the life which is coming after. The ayat which I have read in front of you of Surah Hadid, Allah Ta'ala is describing the phases of life we go through. Everyone goes through these phases. That in the beginning, we start in the womb of the mother, and then we enter this world, and we have maybe 80, 90, 100, maximum 110 years of this life. And we start off helpless, and then there is a small period of where we have the energy, and then we go back to the helpless stage. Allah is describing all this. And at the end, Allah Ta'ala is saying to us, and that's the important part which we have to understand, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ, Allah described all the phases. Then Allah is saying, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. This life is nothing but a deception, a big trap. That's why we have to understand, especially under the conditions we are going through, where we are seeing day by day in the last few months so many of the loved ones and those who are near us and dear to us have left us. And in fact, I would like to especially mention about the senior sister Khadija Hafazji, who has just passed last week, who in fact, when we look at her life from the 60s when she arrived here, all the way through, she really understood the purpose of her life, and she made a great contribution towards her own self, obviously, but as well as that towards the community, and especially the Muslim and all the community in Ottawa, and has left a role model for us. May Allah Ta'ala bless her and grant her maghfirah. She was an inspiration for a lot of people. And that is what we have to understand, my dear respected brothers and sisters. So, I have drawn some golden rules, because time is very brief, that how can we lead a successful life. And this is also from Quran and Hadith. The first rule is that all of us, we have to understand that life is very temporary. No one is here forever. Because once you decide that in your mind, then the concept and the attitude and the way you look at things will change. And I'll give you just a brief example. A friend of mine in India, he sent me a message that my son is coming to Montreal McGill University for doing some postdoc research for 1 year. So it'll be nice if you can go and have a look at him and greet him. So I went to see him, but unfortunately I went after he had already arrived for 9 months. He had already been here for 9 months. I got a chance, so I went to see him. And it was him and his wife, two of them. So when I walked into their apartment, I found that everything was empty in the apartment. One table, just 2 chairs, and 2 cups, 2 saucers, 2 plates. And the rest of the apartment was completely empty. So I said to him, you've been here for 9 months and you haven't settled down yet? What we understand of settling down, you haven't settled down yet. I see your house is completely empty. So he said to me, Uncle, we are only here for 1 year. So me and my wife, we decided that we will just buy the necessary things which we need for this 1 year. Because we are here for a very temporary period. However, we will collect all those things which we will need when we go back. And he took me to his bedroom, and I found there was boxes right from the floor all the way up to the ceiling. And he said to me that, we have both started collecting. This is a food processor, and this is this machine, this is that machine, which will be useful for us when we go back to India. So I realized that he really understood the purpose of his coming to Canada. Just a temporary time, we have to sail through. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us, in a hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Kun fi dunya ka'annaka gharib aw abiru sabil." We have to just sail through this life. We are here temporary. We are not going to remain here forever. So the concept will change when we decide this. Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they understood this. So they just took. And Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, the quote I have I've just quoted what he said, this very beautiful phrase, in fact. إِذَا أَمْسَيْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرِ الصَّبَاحَ. When you are alive and when you get an evening, don't think you will remain until the next morning. وَإِذَا أَصْبَحْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرِ الْمَسَاءَ. And if you are alive in the morning, don't think that you will live up to the evening. And then he says, he makes some very beautiful suggestion. وَخُذْ مِنْ صِحَّتِكَ لِمَرَضِكَ. Make sure that while you are here, you live a healthy life. It's very important. Because if you don't have health, then you can't do anything. So you have to make sure that you look after this body which Allah has given you. وَخُذْ مِنْ صِحَّتِكَ لِمَرَضِكَ. Before the illness arrives, make use of this health and this energy which Allah Ta'ala has given you. وَخُذْ مِنْ حَيَاتِكَ لِمَوْتِكَ. And make this life useful before it ends. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is saying that al-kayyisu man dana nafsahu. The most intelligent and wise person is one who is cautious while he's taking every step in this life. So this is one very important thing, my dear respected brothers and sisters, we have to understand in this pandemic conditions we are going through at the moment, and we don't know how long it's going to continue, that we correct ourselves. We realize the objective because we don't know when we are going. We take care of ourselves physically and also spiritually and mentally. We look after ourselves and we make this life, every step we take, we are cautious. وَعَمِلَ لِمَا بَعْدَ الْمَوْتِ. That we are doing every action for that life which is coming. How that will happen? The second rule, golden rule, is that we have to make sure that the love of this dunya does not enter our heart. Because as soon as the love will enter, then we will fall into the trap of this dunya. So, during the whole life, the most important priority we have, the love of Allah and the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the love of Deen and Islam. These things have been mentioned in Surah Tawbah. Allah Ta'ala is giving us that out of all the things we have around us, we have to make sure that while because we are human, so it's natural that we will have all the other loves. But we have to make sure that we give priority to these loves. And the other natural love we have, they are there already. But these three things we have to create by the effort in this life, and that is our test. Right? Because Allah Ta'ala is saying in Surah Tawbah, in fact, Allah is asking Rasulullah to say, قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وَإِخْوَانُكُمْ وَأَزْوَاجُكُمْ وَعَشِيرَتُكُمْ وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا. 8 things. أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ. That your parents and your children and your wives and your brothers and sisters and your relatives and that wealth where you are always afraid is going up and down, inflation, and those businesses you have where you are always fearful that what will happen if I make a loss. This is how Allah is describing it. وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا. And all these beautiful properties we have, that we are competing with each other for this. If all these things are more beloved to you than Allah and Rasul and struggling for Deen and Islam, وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ, فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْفَاسِقِينَ. Then be warned that the order of Allah will come upon you, and Allah does not give guidance to those who are disobedient. Allah is saying. So respected brothers, in this short time, important message that we have to take this dunya as temporary. It's a sabil, it's a way. It's not our destination. Destination is somewhere else. And secondly, we have to make sure we don't allow the love of this dunya to enter our heart. Because anything of this dunya, it will end. Either we will leave it or it will leave us. Nothing is going to remain except Allah Ta'ala. Kullu man alayha fan wa yabqa wajhu rabbika dhul jalali wal ikram. Only Allah Ta'ala will remain. So, may Allah Ta'ala give us the ability, especially under the conditions, may Allah Ta'ala protect us and enable us to follow such a life where we are not only careful and benefiting our own self, but we are making sure at this time that we are supporting each other. We are helping each other to follow the rules and instructions which we have been given. May Allah Ta'ala give us the ability. Wa aqulu da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فيا أيها الناس وحدوا الله فإن التوحيد رأس الطاعات واتقوا الله فإن التقوى ملاك الحسنات وعليكم بالسنة فإن السنة تهدي إلى الإطاعة ومن أطاع الله ورسوله فقد رشد واهتدى وإياكم والبدع فإن البدعة تهدي إلى المعصية ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل وغوى وعليكم بالصدق فإن الصدق ينجي والكذب يهلك وعليكم بالإحسان فإن الله يحب المحسنين ولا تقنطوا من رحمة الله فإنه أرحم الراحمين ولا تحبوا الدنيا فتكونوا من الخاسرين ألا وإن النفس لن تموت حتى تستكمل رزقها فاتقوا الله وأجملوا في الطلب وتوكلوا عليه فإن الله يحب المتوكلين وادعوه فإن ربكم مجيب الداعين واستغفروه يمددكم بأموال وبنين فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم إن الذين يستكبرون عن عبادتي سيدخلون جهنم داخرين بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि कफ़ा व सलामुन अला इबादिहिल लज़ीना इस्तफ़ा अम्मा बाद व क़ाल अल्लाहु तबारक व तआला फ़ी शानि हबीबिही इन्नल्लाहा व मलाइकतहु युसल्लूना अलन नबी या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू सल्लु अलैहि व सल्लिमू तस्लीमा अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम व अला आलि इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद व बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम व अला आलि इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद व सल्लि अला जमील अंबियाइ वल मुरसलीन वल मलाइकतिल मुक़र्रबीन खुसूसन इला अफ़ज़लिन नास बअदन नबिय्यीन अबी बकर सिद्दीक़ व उमर फ़ारूक़ व उस्मान ज़िन नूरैन व अली अल मुर्तज़ा वल हसन वल हुसैन रिज़वानुल्लाहि तआला अलैहिम अजमईन। अल्लाहुम्मा अय्यिदिल इस्लाम वल मुस्लिमीन अल्लाहुम्मा अंसुरिल इस्लाम वल मुस्लिमीन अल्लाहुम्मा अंसुर मन नसर दीन मुहम्मदिन सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम वजअलना मिनहुम वख़्ज़ुल मन ख़ज़ल अन दीन मुहम्मदिन सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम वला तजअलना महहुम। अल्लाहुम्मा अहदिन नास जमीअ अल्लाहुम्मा अहदिना वहदि बिना वजअलना सबबन लिमन इह्तदा या रब्बल आलमीन। अल्लाहुम्मा इलैका रब्बी फ़हब्बिबना व फ़ी अनफुसिना लक रब्बी फ़ज़ल्लिलना व फ़ी अयुनिन नासि फ़अज़िमना व मिन सय्यिल अख़लाक़ि फ़जन्निबना व अला सालिहिल अख़लाक़ि फ़क़व्विमना व अला सिरातिल मुस्तक़ीम फ़सब्बितना व अला अदाइका अदाइल इस्लाम फ़ंसुरना। अल्लाहुम्मा अंसुरना वला तंसुर अलैना अल्लाहुम्मा ज़िदना वला तनक़ुसना वला तुसल्लित अलैना मन ला यख़ाफ़ुका वला यरहमुना। अल्लाहुम्मा इश्रह सुदूरना लिल इस्लाम अल्लाहुम्मा हब्बिब इलैना अल ईमान व ज़य्यिनहु फ़ी क़ुलूबिना व कर्रिह इलैना अल कुफ़्र वल फ़ुसूक़ वल इस्यान। अल्लाहुम्मा जअलना मिनर राशिदीन अल्लाहुम्मा जअलना मिनत तव्वाबीन अल्लाहुम्मा जअलना मिनल मुतताहिरीन। अल्लाहुम्मा इग़फ़िर लिल मुअमिनीन वल मुअमिनात वल मुस्लिमीन वल मुस्लिमात अल अहयाइ मिनहुम वल अमवात इन्नका समीउन क़रीबुन मुजीबुद दाअवात या रब्बल आलमीन। इबादल्लाह रहिमकुमुल्लाह इन्नल्लाह यामुरु बिल अदलि वल इहसान व ईताइ ज़िल क़ुरबा व यनहा अनिल फ़हशाइ वल मुनकरि वल बग़yi यईदुकुम लअल्लकुम तज़क्करून उज़्कुरुल्लाह यज़्कुरकुम वदऊहु यस्तजिब लकुम व लज़िक्रुल्लाहि तआला अअला औला व अतम्मु अम्मु अकबर। अक़ीमिस्सलात। Please make straight lines.